I was recently just thinking about my experience when I was a kid. Of course, that's something I talk about a lot on the podcast. And when I was, encountered an alien being, I mean, that's what happened. And, and I think, I think I might understand, or again, this is only a theory. I don't know, but I think I know, I have a possible answer, I guess I should say, a possible answer to what was happening, what was going on, what that alien was trying to do at the moment that I encountered it. During that 20-minute period when I encountered that alien, I think I know. Or, excuse me, I'm not sure if I know for sure. I'm just saying I think I have a possible reason as to what it was up to, what was going on. Okay, as I always talk about, it had to be 1977. I was, I believe it was in the summertime, and I was 8 going on 9. I used to sleep in an attic. I slept on one side, and my brother Davey slept on the other side. And sometimes we'd leave the light on. The light was left on that night. There was a light right on top of the steps. That the steps were in the middle that separated one side of the attic from the other side. And so I was on the one side sleeping, and I wake up in the middle of the night, and I could hear this humming sound, this electronics, right? And at the same time, I'm sleeping with a thin blue blanket over my head, and I could see like this hand, like arm shadow of a hand getting closer to my face and then further away in a pretty quick motion. It was almost like ritualistically, like almost robotic in a way. It was most certainly I could see the silhouette of this arm and hand, and it was moving toward right where my head was, and then further away, and then close up again, and further away. I could see the shadow pulling back, and then the shadow getting close. You could see just through the blanket almost, getting closer where my head was, and then further away. And I'm basically terrified and confused. I have no idea what the hell's going on here, right? So I'm scared out of my mind. And again, I don't understand what this electronic, humming sound is. Now, I talked about this recently in a different podcast, how, and I just recently watched the movie Aerial Phenomenon about those kids in Zimbabwe in 1994 who, saw land flying saucer and alien beings, and one of the beings communicated telepathically with some of the kids. I just recently saw that movie, and I was talking about this recently in a different podcast, where some of the kids in that movie, which I never knew before, even though I've been, something I've known about the Ariel school incident for a long time, but part of that story I just learned about for the first time. It was when I watched that documentary. Some of the kids who were now grown up, as the grown-ups, they were being interviewed, and there was like, I think 3 of them that were saying that there was a noise, like a buzzing sound that they described, almost like bees or an electrical transformer. And they heard that during this whole episode. And so that really, I was thinking, wow, that's strange, because that's similar to what I was, that sounds like what I was hearing at that time in 1977 when I was, a kid, and this thing is in the room, and most certainly some sort of being, right? And there's a strange humming sound. And so, of course, I'm terrified out of my gourd. And, I can't believe, I don't know what's going on. At first I initially was trying to communicate with whatever this thing was, saying, who's there, something like to that effect. And then my brother Davey was on the other side of the room. So I peeked out my blanket away. It was away from the direction where that thing was. The thing was like off in a different direction, and my brother would have been in the opposite direction. So I'm peeking out of the blanket, and I could see him laying there facing me. And I started yelling to him, and I realized that humming sound was somewhat muffling my voice. And so I'm really yelling at him, and he's just not budging. He's not waking up. He won't move. I'm like screaming, Davey, right? Then I'm really scared. And I start yelling for my mom and dad for a while, and they're not coming. Nobody's coming. And I'm just laying there looking at this thing, and I don't know what to do, right? And I could just see this hand, this 3-fingered hand. It had 3 3 fingers. It was a very strange shaped hand, right? It was smallish. It wasn't big. It was like a thin arm attached to a thin arm, and the digits on the hand, they were like thick at the bottom, and they came to almost points, not quite points, but almost points. And it only had 3. That was it. 3 digits on that hand, and that hand was getting closer to my face and further away. So, I'm just laying there looking at this thing, and I don't know what's going on. And so I start saying prayers. I mean, now at this time, I was an altar boy in the local Catholic church, and so I was very religious. I went to, I served as an altar boy. I was there every Sunday, and plus times during the week too sometimes. So, I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking at the time that this must be the devil. This must be Satan, or it must be a demon from hell or something, because that's as far as my thinking would bring me at that moment. I couldn't understand what the hell was going on, and I was scared out of my mind, and I couldn't understand. I mean, I felt like I'm religious. I'm as good as I possibly could be, and why would the devil want to come here like this, And that's the kind of things that I was thinking. So I'm laying there under that blanket saying prayers, praying to God, please go away. Please make this thing go away. And then I would open my eyes and the thing is still there. So this went on for 20 minutes. I'm laying there for 20 minutes and this thing is there. It's something, and I don't know what it is. And it's not human, whatever it is, right? It wasn't human, right? And then, somehow I just blacked out. Right. And then the next day I woke up, it wasn't like, it wasn't a dream what I had. It wasn't like I woke up from a dream. It was like I blacked out and then hours passed and then I woke up the next morning, like 9 o'clock in the morning or something. And I remember, spent that whole day running around the house trying to tell my mom, what happened. And she's not believing me. She keeps insisting that it's a dream. And I know that it's not a dream, right? It was definitely not a dream. I was wide awake. It was, I know the difference between it. At this point in my life, I've had enough nightmares and, to know what the difference between a dream and being awake was, and I still do. Right? Nothing like this ever happened again before or since. This was not a dream. I was wide awake. It was 20 minutes, It's as real as me looking at my hand right now. I mean, that's what happened. And so she didn't believe me. And at one point I actually realized, she's never going to believe me. I'm just a kid and nobody's going to believe me. And I remember even my dad getting home from work later that day, like 6 o'clock at night. He was a construction worker and I always just would run out to the car to meet him when he got home from work. And I went up telling him the same story. And guess what? I got the same answer. It was just a dream. And I knew it wasn't. I always known it wasn't. And of course, it took me a long time, to understand that it wasn't a demon or devil. Right. Or, it wasn't that. It took like 10 years later for me to finally realize what happened there. Because then I became aware of, I didn't really know at the time. And when I was a kid like that there was a such thing as alien abduction or anything like that, or alien encounters. I thought that was all just products of make-believe movies. So that never even crossed my mind. Ever, it was for years later, like almost, I would say, had to be 10 years later when I finally, made the connection. I saw something about alien abduction, and it made me I started thinking, and I was like, that's what it was. It was a freaking alien in my room. That's what it was. All right, it made sense then. I was like, okay, I get it now. And then it makes me wonder. I wonder if I've been getting abducted all this time. I don't even know it. Could be. I don't know. Could still be. I don't know. Or maybe, another thing is maybe it was there for somebody else, right? So maybe it came to the house for somebody else and it just happened to wake me up on the way out. I don't know. But I started wondering, I guess last night and this morning I was really thinking about it. What was the thing doing? Why was it doing this? What was that all about? And I think I know what it is. Why was that hand moving up and, closer to my head and then further back, closer to my head and further back? I think that this being knew, it's like I woke up, whatever happened before I woke up and realized there was something in the room, whatever happened, some mistake had to be made somewhere or something. And that thing was trying to, I think, the way human beings, like say, when you're trying to calm somebody down, or somebody's you're trying to try to help someone to relax and take it easy. Like, you ever notice you use your either one hand or two hands, like with the open palms, and you're like, moving them up, up and down, toward them, like on a slant, like, calm down, everything's going to be okay. Calm down. Don't do anything. Just take it easy. I think that's what the message was trying to be sent to me, subconsciously, because the thing doesn't have the ability, obviously, to speak. I don't know. As far as I know, I wasn't getting there was no mental telepathy going on, right? But this motion, what was it doing? Was it warning me, telling me, you do not want to pull that blanket down, because that's something I never did. I did not want to see. I did not want to face this thing. I did not want to see its face. I thought in my mind, in my young mind, I was thinking, I don't want to see this. I'm too afraid to see this. It's like a scary movie where you just can't look. And I remember when I was a kid, younger than that, there was this really scary movie I saw one time. It's still, actually, when you watch it today, I can understand why it scared me when I was a kid. It was this movie from the early 60s called Black Sabbath. And it was, Boris Karloff was in it, and it had three scary stories in it. And the one story, and I remember watching this on TV one day, and it scared me so bad. I had trouble sleeping when I was a kid. I'm probably like 6 or 7 years old. But this witch, the face of this witch, when they showed it, it was so horrifying looking. This lady this witch died, and this lady went and was supposed to help with her, get her prepared for the funeral and everything. And she stole a ring off the witch's finger. Well, the witch came back after her and, showed up in her apartment later on. And when they showed the face, when you ever saw the face of this thing, it was just so scary. When you're a kid and you're looking at this, it's just too much. I couldn't watch it. I remember I had to turn the channel. I was like, I can't even look at that. That was what was going on, similar when I was going through this incident with this being in the room, right? Because I did not want to see this face. And that's how I felt in my mind. And maybe at the same time, that thing was saying, yeah, you don't want to see this. Because obviously you're not under our control right now mentally. And you're just a little kid. And if you see this might cause you to really freak out. Maybe that thing was trying to calm me down with its arm. That's the motion it knew, the one human motion. That it knew that, hey, calm down, just stay where you are. This is all going to come to an end. Everything's going to be okay. Maybe that's what it was doing at the same time, even though it didn't really need to do that, because there was no way I was going to pull that blanket down. I did not want to face this thing. But that thing was, extra protection against that. Hey, don't pull that blanket down. I'm going to be out of here in a minute. You don't want to see this. That's what it could have been. I don't know. It's just something that I thought about. That whole incident to me is a mystery. I don't know what, I don't know what the purpose of that being was there that night. I know that something happened. And in fact, that's why I wouldn't be, if it wasn't for incidents like that, there was, of course, other incidents years after that, of course, that I always talk about too. But that was the first one. And it's something that, if something like that happens to you, it's hard to, it's at first, even at the time, it's hard to believe, right? But at the same time, like, I knew that was real. There was no doubt about it. In fact, I remember, like, a few years after that happened, like maybe 2-3 years after, sometimes I would think about that, and I'd be, yeah, it was just a dream. It was just a dream, right? I would try to convince myself, and then I would realize, no, it wasn't. You were awake. You were wide awake, and that was real. Something was there. Don't pretend. Like, I was actually trying to pretend like it wasn't real, because the idea of the devil coming to my room in the middle of the night just scared the hell out of me. What else would I want to think? I don't want to think that. But now that I realize it was an extraterrestrial, well, you have to accept that's what it was. It was an extraterrestrial. I didn't know at the time. And I think that something happened during the course of whatever was going on that night, where there was a mistake made and somehow I woke up. That thing, realized I woke up and it was trying to calm me. Don't pull that blanket down. Just stay where you are. We're going to be out of here in a few minutes. Hey, just take it easy. Take it easy. I think that's what might have been going on.